God forbid something happened.
Yeah.
I will be okay. I will survive. Who sings that? Who sings that song? I will survive.
Oh, as long as I know how to love, I know. Oh my God, who sings that?
Not
I
Aretha.
love to give. I don't know who sings it. I can't think right now.
I'll find out. But anyways, but I will survive.
Yeah.
Guys, we're back. What's going on? Welcome to another episode of Who Can Relate, and another episode with a change of scenery. Your boy is constantly on the move. It's all good. I'm trying to make it work. I'm trying to bring you guys content every week. And today I have back my sis. I got Miss Laticia Rolle back with us, and we are going to be getting into, again, all things relationships.
Yes.
But more specifically, when you think you find the one, and then you realize that's not it. So,
ouch.
Again,
It hurts me hearing that.
Welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me.
You're the first guest minus Shay that I've had back on, so I'm super excited. And also, that episode was for the longest time my best episode, numbers wise, engagement wise. People just like loved it. They loved us. They loved you. So
thank you.
I'm excited to get this part 2 going.
Your community's fire, first of all.
Thanks.
All your listeners and viewers are incredible. And I think that first one that we did was so on point, and it was just very relatable. Like, so it just goes to the show and like the power of what you're doing, Justin, because it's like people can relate to the shit that we're going through. And I think they think they see us on our exterior and they're like, oh, they don't deal with that.
Right.
I'm like, bro,
and
we
they're
do.
shocked when they find out, like when the curtain's revealed.
Yes.
So, speaking of curtains revealed, let's reveal it. Let's peel the onions back. Let's get into it. The overall umbrella, again, is just going to be when you are happy in your relationship and you think everything's all good. If you're, dating with the intention of marriage.
Yes.
And you're thinking, this is my future husband, this is my future wife. And then some time goes by and you're like, maybe this isn't it, And for me personally, I've been there, and after 4 years, I realized, we're not meant for each other for the rest of our lives. And I just remember being deflated. And I mean, I think it's important to touch on this. I think a lot of people go through it. I'm sure a lot of people can relate. So let's kick it off.
I mean, to jump off of what you just said, like I've been there too. I was in like a 5-year relationship where I was like, this is it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you don't even see anybody else really in your space. Like you're really just all in. And I think it's that space, that time when you're just like in your mind, you're locked in, but you can feel it's not it. Yeah. And when that feeling comes up, sometimes we're like, yeah, but it's fine. Like we'll figure it out. Or no, like this is how we do. It's like this roller coaster, right? Totally. So we keep riding it. Totally. But then there comes to that point where you're just like, yo, you have to face it and be like, yo, this is not it.
So I want to talk about that because I think you touched on something that a lot of people I know are like, that's it. Like when there's a feeling of, you have that feeling, but you're scared to bring it up to them. Maybe you're in a situation where you guys live together and now you're like, damn, I got to move out, or he or she's got to move out. I got to start over, completely over. Like I got to get a new place, get it all together. What does it take to get that courage to have that uncomfortable conversation?
Let me tell you, it takes a lot of courage, what you just said, but it takes a lot of looking at yourself. Yeah. What's making you stay there, first of all? Because it's you're insecure, or you're like, damn, financially, like I was in a space where financially I was like stuck.
Yeah, I can't afford to.
I can't afford to leave. We lived together, you know what I mean? Like, he took care of a lot of things, and I was in a space where I was like, yo, like, how am I going to leave? Like, how am I going to start over again? Like, what am I going to do? Right. Because my life became him, and I did everything. And then I was like, but this is not it. And I had to face myself. Right. And I had to look in the mirror. And I think that was the biggest thing for me, was being like, why are you still here, Laticia? Why? Because one, I was very insecure. I had no self-worth. I had no financial stability in myself. And I had lost myself completely. So why am I staying in a space where I'm not even me, where I've completely lost self? Right. And it took me literally like 6 months to finally actually exit this space, because I had to really face myself and be like, you can be miserable here, Because you can. Like, I was not happy.
You can stay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you can leave. And let me tell you, it's still going to be a little bit miserable.
Sure.
But you start again and you start anew, because every new ending, I promise you, there's a new beginning.
Totally.
And that's the beauty. When you're in the relationship, you don't see that because it's scary.
Yeah.
There's so many people that are scared, and a lot of women have been in the same situation that I've been in, and they stay.
Yeah.
And a lot of women that I know are still in those relationships because of financial stability.
Sure.
And I feel so bad for them.
Yeah.
But you have to have this love for yourself that's unprecedented, because I had to choose me, and I had to be like, yo, you might not be living how you used to live. You're going to have to find a new job. You're going to have to find a new this.
Yeah.
But then it's like, I found myself.
Yeah.
And that was the best gift that I ever gave myself.
But
it
see,
wasn't easy.
It's scary because people don't like change.
Hell yeah. Change is hard.
And for 5 years, right? There's a lot of people listening who are in 5 years or close to it, or maybe even longer, who are like, yeah, but, right? There's going to take so much change that's going to have to come from this. Again, I have to figure out more financial situations, you know, and I may have to move, or he or she may have to, the whole, everything that comes with it, right? It's a lot to deal with. Not to mention the internal work that you're going to have to do for the next, there's just so much. But you're right. It always comes down to self.
Yeah.
What is the best situation for you to be in?
Yes.
Know your worth.
Yes.
Right? Remind yourself of your value.
Yes.
Remind yourself of what you deserve.
And sometimes you have to find it.
Yeah. And it's okay if it takes a little bit more time than you thought. It's okay if it's not with this person, it's with someone else, right? Yes. You know, I always say on here often that, you know, if it no longer serves you, you have to let it go.
But letting go is hard, bro.
It's super hard. There's this picture that I found one time, and it's just a hand and a rope. And that hand is gripping the rope so hard, and it's holding on to it for so hard, right? And the hand starts to bleed.
Ooh, yes.
You holding on and gripping that rope and gripping that relationship is actually hurting you. It's causing more harm than actual good. It sucks to let go because you don't know how you're going to fall. You don't know where you're going to fall. You don't know how long you're going to be falling for. But ultimately, if you let go, right, you're going to be okay. You're going to build yourself back up. But what happens when you feel like you found that person? What are some of the first inclinations that you're like, maybe this ain't it?
Oh, you start questioning everything?
Maybe he or she is not it. Right? There starts, and we don't have to go into what signs because that's very subjective. Everyone's got their own thing, but there are certain indicators that remind you, like, don't really know if this is what I signed up for. This is not how it started. Right? The popular meme right now is how it started versus how it's going.
Oh,
like, that's very relevant to what we're talking about.
So relevant. It's so relevant.
What are some of the things that we can give people to try to help them understand, keep your vision very clear?
What you just said is not always easy for everyone, because I always see the best in people.
Totally.
I'm that potential person. I'm that one that, like, I've been in relationships because I saw his potential instead of his reality. Ooh. I'm the queen of that. Ooh.
All been there. All been there. Yeah.
You know, and your discernment has to be so strong, but you have to know your morals and your values in order to see all of these issues first before they arise. Right. And I'm still learning this, to be 100 with you. Like, I'm still processing a lot of things. Yeah. Even when dating, I'm like, I know what I want. Yeah. I wrote everything down, what I desire. But, like, when it doesn't match what I want, I question it. And I'm like, hold on. This isn't it. Right? But sometimes I don't act on it. I let it go. And then I question myself. I go, do you love yourself enough to honor yourself, to honor what you want and to honor your needs? And sometimes I don't. I let it slide because this hope that I think he is the one.
Two things that you said that I really want to expand on. Number one is, I love this quote. People will show you who they are. It's up to you whether or not you want to believe them.
Yes.
Back to the potential thing, right?
Yeah.
Everyone has potential. I don't care where you come from. I don't care where you're going. Everybody has potential. Yeah. But unless there's deliverables, there's actions consistently with that potential, what are we talking about here? Yeah. Because words are just that. They're just words, right?
Yes.
People will forget what you said, but they won't forget how you made them feel.
Exactly.
Good or bad, right?
100%.
When you say someone changed my life, do you remember what they said to change your life? You remember how they made you feel. You remember the actions that they did.
Yes.
So that's one thing I really wanted to drive home is like people need to understand, we can't just live in the potential world. You can fantasize about it. You can maybe hold that as a standard or a light at the end of your tunnel, but we can't just be so stuck on it where we're not even paying attention to the red flags, the deal breakers that they're showing us.
Right.
The other thing is when you brought up like, you know, do I express how I feel to him? One thing that we need to be reminded of is you can't argue with how someone feels.
Oof, that's so true.
It's their feelings.
Yeah.
Now,
and to them, they're valid.
Exactly. And you need to have empathy.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And be sensitive to their feelings. This is a lot easier said than done.
Yeah,
because your boy is still going through it. Okay. Let alone like years ago.
Yeah.
So, but we forget sometimes that they're not us and we're not them. Right? If you're in a partnership, you don't have to be married. You can be in a boyfriend. You can be in a boyfriend-girlfriend stage. You still can honor that person's feelings.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So I think it's really important that you don't just dismiss someone's feelings, but also with your own personal feelings. My question, and this is to both of us to answer, how do you know something is really worth bringing up? And how do you know something's just better just to keep inside, but you want to be careful, you don't want to build up resentment?
Right. Oof. And I've done that before. I've built resentment over time.
Yeah. And that person has no idea why you're so hot. And you're like, I've been holding this for a whole year.
And it only hurts you, by the way.
Exactly.
It doesn't hurt nobody else.
Exactly.
It's the worst passive aggressive like
formula.
Oh my God. It's so bad, but it kills you. It doesn't kill anybody else.
Yeah.
Oh, don't do that. Don't hold on to, don't let it build up.
Yeah.
But I think for me, when I know like this has to be brought up is when I go to bed and I'm still thinking about it.
Okay.
Or if I wake up the next day and it still pings me.
Right.
You know, I'm also really in tune with my intuition now. So like if it doesn't sit well in my gut, we got to talk about it.
How do you separate your mind and your heart with thoughts?
I low key, so like I always talk to my inner child, right? Because there's like this little girl, Laticia, that is still yearning for this love, right? In a man. Okay. And because of like my situation with my father.
So sorry to cut you off. Another question, and maybe this is another word to add to the love. Is it also acceptance? I
think it's love. I think it's acceptance. I think it's it could be totally both. Okay. 100%. I think it's protection. I think it's, you know,
basically
safety.
Whatever you lacked from your father.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
So like there's that little girl in me that still desires some of those things when I'm seeking partners. And, you know, I feel like, so separating heart to mind for me, it's subjective because it depends on what I am kind of going through at that moment.
Right.
I got a big heart and I love, and like I said, I see potential and like I want everything to always be right. But my mind now, because I'm so more self-aware and I'm so much more, I have a lot more knowledge. I like to say like emotional knowledge that I know like, okay, Laticia, you're just doing this because your heart, that inner Laticia, that inner child Laticia really desires this. Yeah. She really wants this. But my adult is my mind. The 32-year-old Laticia is up here. Yeah. Sometimes this heart is like the younger me. And I've learned to differentiate the two. Okay. And sometimes...
How do you do that?
Boy, I be talking to myself sometimes.
Yeah.
Like real talk, Justin. Like sometimes like when something's on my mind heavy, I'll be in bed and I'll be like, okay, little Laticia, like, is this what you need right now? Yeah. Like, you're okay. Like, I got you. And I literally talk to like my younger self because she still is inside of me. Yeah. And I'll be like, are you doing this because this is just what you still desire? This is what you want from like your younger self? And 9 times out of 10, the answer is yes. It's this inner child, this younger me that's still needing this. Right. But I have to like kind of rest and I'll literally talk to him like, Laticia, you're good. Like, you're okay. That anxiety, and sometimes I'll get anxious and I have to settle her down and be like, you're fine, you know? But that my mind has to kick in. And that's like, I always say little Laticia, grown ass Laticia, you know what I mean? Yeah. And sometimes it's hard to kind of differentiate. It's not easy.
So, because let me ask you, because I mean, the last time you were on, I talked heavily about only you can complete you.
Yeah.
And it kind of reminds me right now of what you're saying, because I guess my follow-up question is, how do you know that that's on you to fill those voids and to complete that, as opposed to trying to be, not saying you are, but if there's people out there who maybe depend on that from their partner.
Right. Look, this life, this path depends on you. This is your life. This is your chosen path. Everything that you choose, this is like your movie.
Right.
You're the director of your life.
Right.
So everything depends on me.
Sure.
And what I'm accepting, what I'm allowing, how I'm feeling, what I'm, the partners I'm allowing into my life.
Yeah.
It's all my choice.
Right.
So it's really, for me, taking responsibility.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
totally.
And being accountable for self.
Yeah.
And you kind of just really have to like man up in a sense where it's like, okay, I'm choosing this. Why am I choosing this?
Yeah.
And having those hard conversations.
Yeah. And I only asked that because as I said in that episode, like, I realized only I can complete me. There was the little boy, Justin, right, who still wanted love and affection, who still wanted words of affirmation, words of encouragement, who still wanted to be able to delegate and sometimes depend and lean on and just ask, right? And know that someone's going to have my back and not leave me. And I put that on my wife.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm asking you, just,
that's so powerful. I hope people is listening what you're saying.
Yeah. I had to realize, like, with my therapist, this was not like my own epiphany, but with my therapist.
Thank God for therapists.
Yeah.
By the way.
Yeah. He was like, of that, what you did, the list you just described, how much of that can your wife actually do for you? Or how much of it is that you need to do for yourself? And here's the thing. You have to be in the right frame of mind to be in your life, to be able to receive that.
Yes.
Okay. Because if, let's say 6 years ago, my therapist would have told me that, I'd have been like, nah, it's not me, it's her. Wow. She needs to do this. I'm putting this on her. Right. Wow. I would have said that. Yeah. So, for people out there, if that doesn't register to you, like, it may later, down the road when you're in the right frame of mind. But I encourage and challenge everyone to really sit with that. If you're asking things of your partner to do for you, of that list, if you got 10 things, how many of those 10s of the 10 can you take off and be like, you know what? I got 1 through 6, actually. My bad. I didn't mean to ask you all those things. These 4, that's on you. Yeah. Okay, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think you have to be honest. You have to be honest with yourself. Because, and I also promise you, your partner will appreciate it. Because, as I said earlier in, again, that episode, what I was asking of Shay, she constantly would feel like she wasn't enough for me. Even if she did, 7 through 10, those 4 things, she's going to be like, yeah, but I'll do it. But then you're going to keep asking me and it's not enough. And it's not the right way when I do it. Right. So it's important to go through that checklist. I think a lot of people, if you're considering leaving or you think you haven't maybe found the one like you did, control what's in your control. Let's start with that. And let's also really just, again, do a self-evaluation as to, can he even do these things?
Yes.
Also, can she even really fill these voids?
And is it them or is it me?
Right.
And I think that's hard. It's not easy. That's why everybody runs and leaves and breaks up.
But that's self-awareness, though.
Yes.
It's all about self-awareness.
Yes, and owning it.
Yeah. We talked earlier offline about, I told you I was listening to Esther Perel on my way over here, trying to get my mind right. And she said something that was so beautiful. She said, oftentimes we look for our partner to be the one person for everything. Make me feel good, right? Give me the reassurance that I need. Do this for me. Be the person I can. All these things. And the person she was on with, which is Lewis House, he said it's funny because they always say it takes a village. Yeah. But when you're with someone and you're demanding so much and so dependent on that one person, that village becomes that one person. Ooh. And I was like, oh man. I was like,
Think about that.
And it's wild because I was doing that in my marriage. You know, like up until recently, like a couple months ago, I was like, you're the village. Wow. You know, you just Mrs. Davis, but you know what I mean? I was like, but she's the village. Yeah. And I almost like what I should have, you know, what I basically was trying to say early on in our relationship was like, when you sign up, right, you get the keys to the village, right? Mm-hmm. But then you got to run it. Like, that's not fair. That is not, you can't put all that on just one person. That and ultimately too, that one person can't do all those things.
Yeah, and that one person has a life too.
What exactly, about their life, exactly, 100%.
Like, it's so real.
Yeah, so it's something that, you know, it takes awareness to come to that realization.
I want to ask you something too, which I think is so beautiful that you had that that moment, and that moment of clarity for you, right? Because I know that's probably really so much between you two. Yeah, and you guys are evolving so much. Even more beautifully.
That was the perfect cord to attach us completely.
Yeah, that's so dope. So if we're talking about the village, right? So like now it's released off of Shay.
Right.
Where do you find your community though now? Like where do you get fulfilled in spaces like through your village? Because we were talking about this earlier offline too. Like, you know, being able to still be like, okay, this is where I'm at with my girl. This is how we're gonna work. Yeah. But I still have these other needs or these other like things I need to fill up.
Sure.
Right.
And who's gonna do it?
Yeah.
Or how? Yeah. A lot of it starts with self. Yeah. You know, again, control what's in your control. Also, you don't want to be that friend or family member if we're going with our outside of our marriage, in my case, or relationship, right? If you go to friends and family, your other inner circle, you don't want to be that friend or family member that's so like dependent. Like every time Justin calls, he needs something. I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that friend. Like where you see me on the car ID, you're like, I don't got time for this. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I think it has a lot to do with you just really being honest again with yourself. Like, what can I do for me? Yeah. And here's the beauty. There's two benefits in knowing that and then actually following through with it. The first thing is you become aware of what you need. And the second thing is now you can help whoever's trying to give you what you need. You can help guide them. Right. It's like when you date, this is, if I were to go back to dating, which I'm not, but if I were to go back to dating, and let's say it's the 10th date. Yeah. This is what I actually wish I would have asked. How do you need and want to be loved? Yeah. If someone doesn't know that answer, I can't love them.
Duh.
They don't know. Well, common sense is not so common. I'm telling you. I'm figuring this out as I get older.
I know. Me too. Like, I'm seriously. In that space now, Justin.
Yes. Yeah. So it's like, I would ask that question. Yeah. So back to your question to me, you know, where do you go? Who is the community? Yes. Well, I'm going to try to be as much community for myself as I'm going to be. Yeah. Because even if I want to a friend, I can help them with what I need because I can communicate, I can articulate that to them, right? But the other thing is sometimes you're not Superman. As much as I think I'm Superman, because I promise you,
y'all all think you're Superman.
I feel like Shay's always like, Shay's like, do you think you're like invincible? Like you think you're just like, and I'm like, well, no, I'm not. You know, but I think that for a sec, because I'm like, I could do it all. I could do it all. It's ego, but it's passion. Yeah. I'm a very passionate person. And I also I'm very thoughtful. So I don't want you to help me because you got your own stuff. You know what I mean? So it's a combination of things.
I see what you mean.
But it is a lot of it's ego.
Yeah. But we all do that. I do that.
Yeah.
And it's my ego that kind of takes over. And
it's hard to delegate. It's hard to ask for help the whole nine. But that's the first thing I would do is I would do a check-in with myself. And then again, I would go to the that's what they're there for. Yeah. Like, and if you see your friend struggling or your family member or your partner struggling, you're going to be like, why didn't you come to me? Yeah. Why didn't you ask? I would have, you know what I mean? So you're stripping them of some of their duties and being responsibility and being in your life.
And I think community is key for me anyway. Like for
everyone.
Women, like
everyone, guys too.
Yeah, you're right.
We don't realize it. Yeah. But yes.
It's true. It's key. Yeah. Like for me, look, I'm not married. I probably haven't had the most healthiest relationships. Yeah. So now I'm navigating this, right? My parents had a beautiful marriage, but then it was divorced. But now looking back, it wasn't the healthiest. They were 17, 18, having kids. I've never seen this idea of what I want in my life lived in any part of my family.
Or shown to you.
Yes. So I was never taught these things.
Yeah.
So when I become in these relationships, I'm in therapy still. Thank God for Joanne.
Therapy for the win.
Yes, because she guides me and helps me see these things. But community for me is key because like I have friends like you and Shay or Cole and Weston, you know, like marriages that like are my age that go through their ups and downs that totally. I can call and I can relate to these people and the love and like the things that I'm going through. Sometimes I don't know what to do.
Sure.
And sometimes I am lost. And I just want people to understand, like, you can't just go to anyone. You can't go to anyone because you asking your single girlfriend that's still single, that's still in the streets.
The bitter homegirl is not the source.
Don't do that. But I used to do that when I was younger.
Right.
And like, that's not the community that you're still trying to stay in, right? Because when you're in a relationship, you're trying to get deeper and grow.
Yeah.
So you have to really build a community where you trust.
Totally.
And that community is like your ideal of like what you desire and what you aspire to be.
Yeah.
You know,
well, it's having the right people in your life,
yes.
but it's also having the right accountability partners
100%.
in your life. And when I say the bitter homegirl, like, girls, calm down. I'll give you another one too. It's like I'm not going to go to my Playboy homie.
Yeah.
I'm not going to a guy who lives in a club and is like, bro, you want to go to Vegas again? Like, I'm not going to him.
Yeah.
He is the equivalent of the bitter homegirl. Yeah. They're not the ones to confide in about stuff like this. Yeah. So that's what I mean by that. But I don't want to. Girls are gonna just lose their mind when they hear that. But
chill.
Okay, so let's get back to again when someone feels like who they thought was the one is no longer.
Yes.
But before they get to that realization of this isn't it. How do you know if you should stay or you should go in a situation, right? How do you know that, but I see the potential in him, back to that, but I see the potential in her, right? Like, yeah, but I've never been with someone who makes me feel this way, but I've also never been with someone who makes me feel this way. Right? I had an ex, this is great. This is why I don't have this is my first episode. This is a little sidetrack right now. The first episode, I don't have an outline. There's no piece of paper on my lap. I'm just rolling so right now. And it's getting good. So because there's no structure right now, I'm gonna sidetrack, but it'll be relevant. I had the ex I told you about, the long-term ex. I remember she texted me that one time. We were on a break, and she said, "I've never had someone make me feel as high on life as you make me feel, and as low as you make me feel." And I was like, number one, it scared me because I was like, I have the power of doing something like I have the capability of making someone feel like that. Like, that's scary. That's a lot of responsibility. A, I don't want that.
That's heavy.
And then B, it made me realize that she lost herself in me. You know, and that's where I want to go with this. When someone is afraid to leave a situation because they feel like they don't know who they are without him. I don't know who I am without her, right? There's a thing I call Shay my better half. The key word there is half.
Yes.
God forbid something happened.
Yeah.
I will be okay. I will survive. As who sings that? Who sings that song? I will survive.
Oh, as long as I know how to love, I know. Oh my God, who sings that?
Not Aretha.
I don't know who sings it. I can't think right now.
I'll find out. But anyways, but I will survive. Yeah. Shay will survive. The show will continue to go on. Yeah. But when people are in that like deep hole of like, I don't even know who I am without him, right? I don't know who I am without her. How do you find yourself? How do you know if this is the person who makes you feel so high and so low, almost in the same week, day sometimes maybe?
I was that girl. So I know exactly that
Let's
feeling.
talk about it. Yeah.
I was your ex. I was with somebody that made me feel so high and then so low like this.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, actually, I was on a birthday trip away with my mom. And I said, Mom, I love him, but like, it's not it. And this was like 5 years, but I was like, I don't even know who I am anymore. And I knew I lost myself. So like the key thing for me now is that first inkling of me losing myself and me people pleasing and like trying, because I used to be so selfless for my man. Sure. Oh my God. To the death of me. Yeah. Where like, it was just, I was giving, there was no more me. And I remember telling my mom, like, I don't even know who I am anymore. Like, I don't know what to do. And I said, what do I do, Mom? Because I was so confused in that moment. And she was like, you'll just wake up one day and know, baby. Like, you'll wake up one day and know.
Like, enough is enough.
Yeah, but I was like, what do you mean? Like, it's been like this long, years, 5 years. But she was right. Because I acknowledged that I didn't know who I was anymore. The feeling where you don't even know who you are when you look in the mirror. You don't even like dress how you want to dress. You're just in a different space. You're controlled in this environment. And it's like, I'm literally looking at myself confused and like, this is not me.
Right.
And I remember crying and writing in my journal, thinking like, and I literally wrote, I'm so miserable. And I was not happy with myself.
Yeah.
And it was a pivotal point in my life where I turned 30 actually. And I was like, this isn't for me. Like, this isn't for me. And I knew there was this girl that I lost that I wanted to get back to. Like this Laticia who was me, but no longer existed. Like, I took that as like the adventure to find myself again, to be like, okay, this is going to be hard.
Yeah.
You know, it's like talking to the inner Laticia again, because I was scared to leave.
Sure.
I still had love for him. I still had like all these feelings, but it was not good for my soul anymore. I was losing myself to the point of like no return. So having the bravery and courage to be like, I gotta go. This is done.
Yeah.
To be 100, like, we broke up and I left that city where I lived and I started anew. And when I came to this new city, I was like, you're running. Sit down and face the
Yeah.
You know, you're running. What are you running from?
Right.
You know, the madness, the pain. I went to Italy for like 3 weeks. I went here. Like, I was just creating distractions for myself.
Yeah.
So when I had got to the new city, I just sat with myself and I was like, who are you? What do you want in this life?
Yeah.
What do you desire? What are your passions? Like, what's your style? I didn't even have a style, because in that space I had to dress like I was in my 40s and I was like in my, it was such a weird, I didn't know who I was. And I had to sit with myself and ask these questions and then find a therapist and then be surrounded by love. Like, that was one big thing for me. And still to this day, when I'm going through something, I need to be supported.
Right.
So like, I call on my girlfriends, I call on my guy friends, like I call on my family to like love and support on me when I need it.
Yeah.
And I think that was really kind of like one of the big parts of knowing that he wasn't it, but how the hell do I leave and start again?
Right.
And then dating again, I was like, now I got to date again.
Yeah.
Everybody was on dating apps. I've never been on a dating app in my life. Now I'm in my 30s and I'm like, what is this?
Right.
I got to swipe on dudes now? Like, X and check dudes. Like, this is weird, you know? And it was hard.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until, and look, take some time for yourself. A lot of us jump from one thing to another thing, thinking that that's going to fill that void, like putting the Band-Aid over it. That's what I thought I needed, until like I sat with myself, and I took 2 years to really focus on me.
Wow.
And do therapy and read all these books, read and just learn and cry and like ask. Oh, I asked my mom and dad so many damn questions about their relationship and why. I had these really wild conversations with my father. Because through therapy, I learned, like, me and my dad had a toxic relationship growing up.
Sure.
Now I have all these toxic relationships as an adult. And I was like, wow.
You repeat what you don't repair. Yeah.
And my dad loved me, and I still love my father. But it was this really, it was an athletic.
Yeah.
He was like my coach, that turmoil. And I started doing that. I started repeating. And then I found these patterns of myself. And then I had to stop myself.
Yeah.
And just sit and learn. I had to work.
Yeah.
I worked my ass off. I found 2 jobs. You know what I mean? I had my business, which is my job that I started to keep up running. And then I started the podcast.
Yep.
And I started filling myself up with love and joy and finding my passions. And then I was like, I don't need that old life that I thought I needed.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, community, like you said, though, is a huge part of being okay to leave, because you know you have people to lean on and count on, and they can, you know, help you get through that, because you're not alone. You're never alone. And even if people are like, I don't have a community, for whatever reason, people are like, I don't have a community, therapy can be your community.
Really?
That's probably the only one person who could be a village is a therapist,
so
right? Like they have those superpowers. So if anyone is out there just like, I don't have a community, like I don't have that type of circle, right? Or even if I do, I don't, with all due respect to them, I don't want what they have. I don't want to be single. You know what I mean? Like I want to be in a relationship. I want to be happily, married, or just happy, period.
Yeah.
A lot of people aren't happy. And if that's your circle, right? There's a saying that says, misery loves company. So we all know that, but it's even more so, miserable people love miserable company. So just seek therapy if you don't have that type of community in your life. And also too, something I also want to add, maybe this is because I'm a father, I don't know, but there's a lot of things that I do in my life that I ask myself, would I do that? Would I want my daughter to do that? Or what would I tell my daughter? And if anyone is in a situation where you're miserable, you're hurting, you're suffering, you're just unhappy,
you're lost,
and you continue to stay in this year after year after year, what advice would you give your child?
That gave me chills.
Imagine if your daughter was going through what you're going through. Imagine if your son is going through what you're going through. How would you advise them? What conversation would that be? Have that same conversation with yourself.
That's like talking to your inner child.
And especially
powerful.
if you have kids, what example are you setting for that child? I grew up in a household where my parents, bless their heart, should not have had a baby. Thank God they did. Here I am. But they should not have had a baby. But they did. But I should not have seen the things that I saw. I shouldn't have heard the language and the tones that were used. I shouldn't have been subjected to the abuse that I grew up with, that I saw. I shouldn't have seen that because it's scar after scar after scar. It's a painful memory.
And so many of us grew up like this.
Exactly. And even if it's not even a physical abuse or a mental abuse, when you know you're not right for someone, but you have children with them, because that's a whole thing, right? People are out there, but I have his kid, or he had, she's the mother of my child. The thing is that you actually will be doing your kids a favor in the long run. They may not understand at 8, 4, or 12. They will understand when they get older.
Right.
Mom did this because of.
Right.
Dad did this because of. Right. It'll make sense. One day it'll all make sense. Right. I really believe in that. And so just know that your kids are watching you. They're watching your every move. They're paying attention to everything you say.
Everything.
That's your responsibility as a parent. Lead by example. It's your responsibility. You chose to have this child. You know what I mean? So I definitely wanted to make sure I got that in there because
I think that's beautiful.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of people right now, again, who have kids. They're just like, it's not as easy. Well, here's the thing. Nothing is easy. Yeah. Okay. I don't care if you have kids, you don't have kids. It's never easy to leave someone who you thought was going to be the one person you spend the rest of your life with. That's not easy. Having kids with that person may make it harder, but it's still not easy, right? Yeah. So, again, you can't argue with how someone feels. Let's be sensitive to everyone's situations, right? Another thing that you said earlier that made me think, and Shay and I have talked about this a lot. So back to, you said, I've never really been shown the example of like a happy marriage, right? I crave it, I want it, but I actually don't even know what it looks like, right? So you may think, because at times I'm in the same boat. Yeah. And so anyways, Shay and I had this conversation one time, I remember, and we basically came to the realization that we are trying to create something that we've never seen before. We are trying to create the 40, 50 years of marriage. Yes. We're trying to create the household that our kids not only want to be in, but their friends want to be in. We want to have the Davis household. We want it to be the spot. The spot where you hoop at. The spot where you watch movies at. The spot where you play games at. The spot. We want to create that. And with all that being said, we were like, how do we do something that we've never even seen before? Almost like is it possible, right? Thought to yourself. So when you said that, it made me really think about that, because I'm like, but so we're just not supposed to do it? Yeah. Like, no, like this is it, at least for me, it's gives motivation. Yes. Like I'm going to create it. And I kind of like the fact that I don't have the example for it, because I can mold it and shape it to be what we need and what we want it to be at the end of the day. Right. And so I'm glad you said that, because I think there's a lot more people out there than we think that grew up, divorce rate's crazy right now. We all grow up, especially there's a lot of broken homes out there. So to the people who are like me or like Cher, like you, who didn't necessarily have the quote unquote example, right. Create your own example.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of life. You're the curator of your life.
You have a choice.
You have a choice.
Yeah.
Like, that's what you guys want. I know you guys will create that. There's no doubt in my mind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like, I sometimes like, I still like look.
Yeah.
For those relationships that I want.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like when I see a married couple on the plane, like an elderly couple, I always ask them.
Me too.
What's the secret?
I do the same thing.
All the time.
I'm like, look, how long you been married?
Yeah.
It could be 2 years. I'm like, it doesn't matter. Yes. I always ask two questions. I say, what is the best advice you would give? Yes. And what's the best advice you received?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, one lady, the last lady, she told me, she said, baby, as soon as you get them, you got to train them. As soon as you get them, you got to train them. She was a Southern woman. Yeah. It was so fun. She goes, don't wait. As soon as you get them, you got to train them.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. It was so funny.
Yeah. No,
it's true.
I love the beautiful, unique answers.
Yeah.
There's a lot of common answers.
Yes.
You know, the whole don't go to sleep mad answer, or, you know, don't, like, life is short, don't let the fight or the argument carry on. So on and so forth. But yeah, I always, anytime I travel, and I'm always calling her, I land, I'm like, babe, I met this other couple and they blah, blah, blah. So I think it's really cool.
So even now, like, as a woman in my 30s, right? Like, I want to be married. I want to have children. I will.
Yeah.
But I'm still struggling in a sense of this dating world.
Sure.
And it's not always easy. And I think what you said, if you think that this guy is the one, and then you start feeling like, he might not be the one, it starts to kind of like weigh on you, right? Well, me anyway. It's been like kind of like weighing on me, because I'm like, I get excited when I meet people.
Right.
You know, he was different than the last one. You know, he has better qualities here. He's and he's great. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm evolving. I'm still working on myself. I'm still a work in progress. So like, I always have compassion. But how much is too much compassion, bro? Like, how much, when is that time where you're just like, okay, this might not be it, but like, you're still holding on to it. Like, what advice would you give to me to be 100? Like, how would you know it's just not a go? Like, what would you tell your daughter?
Right. There's a couple of things. I think the first thing is you have to be very clear on what it is you want. You also have to be very clear on then expressing it to that person.
That's it. That's where I suck.
Yeah, because I mean, we all do.
Yeah.
Right. Because then it comes across as selfish, right? Because I'm telling you what I need and what I want, but it's not. Self-love isn't selfish. It's important.
Yes.
It's necessary, as you said in the first episode, right? So it's an essential component to any partnership. You know, how can I be of service to you today? Right. How can I love you better today? What can I do to give you the best day ever? Like, these are questions you can ask your partner. Yeah. It's okay. And then you can say, great. Here's what I need. Yeah. Here's what I want. Here's what I'm looking for, whether it's today, this week, this month, or this year, or with this relationship. So be very clear on what you want, and then don't be afraid. Don't think it's selfish to express that to that person.
I have issues with that.
Okay.
I have issues expressing sometimes what I want. And I find myself because I'm scared that it might be too much, and he might not be able, or he might look at me like, I'm worried about his judgment of what I want.
Let me ask you this, which is valid.
Yeah.
Do you also think it's a fear of rejection?
100%. And I also think it's a fear of my own insecurities. I know it is. Right. Of like, damn, what if I want him to do this, he's going to think I'm this type of girl.
Exactly.
So it's like me not being secure in me.
Right.
You know, I dealt with this last week, and I was like, damn, Laticia, like, you still have some little like... Yeah. Like, I have some struggle with owning what I want, what I desire. I know what I want, but I still have this insecurity part in me where I'm just like, own it. It's okay. And if he's not for you, he's not for you. Right.
Exactly. And that's actually perfect, because the other thing I was going to say too was there's a thing called a healthy challenge. And, right, because if someone says it shouldn't be this hard, right? It shouldn't take this much work. The thing is first of all, bro, or girl. What's too much work to you?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, we all have work to do.
Yeah.
Some have more than others. So you're over here thinking you're working hard. You might just be getting up to level, to like water surface level. I'm still waiting up top because I've done, and I'm saying this from personal experience. I'm not talking to anyone directly besides me and my wife. What happened was, I remember I was doing all this work and I was like, it shouldn't be this hard. It shouldn't be this challenging. It should be effortless. I used to always say that. And she's like, yeah, it could be if you just met me at where I'm at and then we together can go forward, right? Because she was way ahead of me.
And she was challenging you healthily.
And it was a healthy challenge.
Yes, because she loved you. Because if she didn't love you, she would have left.
Exactly. Now, I didn't know it was a healthy challenge.
Right.
at the time, okay? Because I thought it was just a challenge.
Right.
I'm like, this, come on, man. You know what I'm saying? I was like, this, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I had to check my ego.
Right.
I had to bring it down a little bit. And then also I had to realize, if not now, when?
Yeah.
My therapist gave me something February 2017. And he said, you're always 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I said, no. I was like, look, man, I don't fear commitment. I fear wasting my time.
Ooh, that's.
I know. We talk about that.
Yeah.
Shay hates that, okay? But he said, but that's the problem. You're never going to know if it's a waste of time until you fully commit. You just give it all you got. Let the other person give it all they got and see what you guys got.
Right.
See what you have together, right? It's the only way you're going to know. So full circle, I realized that Shay was a healthy challenge for me. She was the first one that I still don't really, I think it's timing, right? Because there's a lot of women before her who tried to get me to the level of where I'm at now, which Shay ultimately got me to. But it was maybe their delivery was off. Maybe it was the timing was off.
Yeah.
Maybe it was me just feeling something I've never felt with, that gut, that intuition that sometimes is unexplainable. And right now I can't explain it, so we'll leave it with that. But something told me, if not now, when? These are going to be challenging times because it's about time I get it together.
Yes.
Healthy challenges can be disguised sometimes, but just look at them. The writing's on the wall. It's a healthy challenge. If someone is trying to get you to live up to your full potential, fully circle back to that.
Right.
And you also have heard this before, whether it's from other women in my situation, family members, friends. Yeah. And I'm like, damn, like this girl doesn't know them from anything, but they're all on the same page. What does that tell me? Right?
Who's the factor?
I'm the common denominator.
Yes.
That's what it comes down to.
Yes.
So that's the second thing. And actually, I've been thinking as I've been talking, the other thing I definitely would make sure I insert here is, as long as it's not too painful, as long as you're not losing yourself.
Yes.
You touched on that earlier.
Yes.
As long as it's not that rope analogy with the hand and you're grabbing it and you're gripping it so hard that you start to bleed, as long as it's not causing you more harm than good,
Right.
stick it out. Because there's no such thing as a perfect relationship, a perfect guy, a perfect girl. Like, come on now. We got to get past this. I don't care if you're listening, you're 18 or you're 38 or you're 58. Stop.
You mean there's not a Noah out there for
Stop.
me?
There's no Noah. We ain't living in the Notebook.
Yeah.
This is not it. Okay. So we have to come to that realization.
Get back to reality.
Okay.
Everyone.
Save yourself all the time.
I'm talking to myself too.
Right. It's okay.
Yeah.
So with all that being said, I think you just have to really, everyone has to ask themselves, okay, this is hard, right? But I'm afraid though to make a permanent decision on a temporary feeling.
Yeah.
You have to ask yourself that.
I love that.
Permanent decisions on temporary feelings are not the equation, right? It's not the equation you want. So just really sit with it and just ask yourself, like, look, can we work through this? Can I, as my wife held that space for me, who was willing to work with me, how can I help you? How can I help uplift you? How can I be of service to you? Like she offered that to me. And half the time I didn't take it because my ego and I'm a guy, I'm a man, I got it. You know what I mean? So it's a very long-winded answer to answer your question, as far as what would I tell my daughter.
Right.
But I give that whole soliloquy because there is no like pill you can just take.
No. And it's all subjective. Yeah. Too.
100%. The context is always going to be different. Yep. Like, again, like, that's why I said the first thing was like, you know, well, where did you come from? Like, what is your past? What is considered hard work for you or like challenging for you? Because it's different for everybody.
Yes.
But again, it's being honest with that person, telling them what you need, what you want, and then understanding what they need and what they want.
And I'm learning about myself, like being honest, even if it hurts. Because that's like my fear, because I'm so concerned about the other person's feelings. Yeah. But there are things that I want to say, and I know they might hurt him. But I have to deliver it, and I have to be honest, and I have to deliver it in a kind way that he can receive it. Right. And that's something I'm working on. Right. Because there's some things where I'm not okay with. Yeah. And you're telling me you're doing X, Y, and Z, but sometimes your best isn't good enough for somebody else.
Sure, exactly.
And that's just what it is.
That's the reality.
And sometimes, like I think about it, my best might not be good enough for him. But in my head, I'm doing my best.
100%.
But to my partner, he's looking at me like, that's all you got? Like, that's your best? Like, no, you know? So I think it's this kind of like honest, truthful, deep, like laying it out on the table.
And it also, like, I don't know if it needs to hurt.
No.
I don't know. But
it might hurt if you receive it. Like, it may hurt the person.
But here's the thing. That person's not for you.
Yes.
It's not a situation of like, this is how I feel, take it or leave it. Well, that hurts me. Oh, well, no. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is if that person can't receive your message, AKA your feelings, it's probably not your person.
Yes. Ding, 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 ding.
It's probably not your person.
Ding, 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 ding. Yes,
so
I agree.
I don't know if it has to hurt.
Yeah.
And I also know that, as we talked about earlier, like you can't suppress your feelings because you're going to build resentment. And that's not something you want to have as a foundational brick to your new house, AKA your relationship. You want to lay down some solid foundation, not some gray area foundation, not some red flags foundation, not some deal breaker foundation. You want to lay down the right brick after brick after brick, and coming into a situation where you're not being completely honest with yourself, expressing that to that person, then you're building your relationship on a false foundation, which is, it's not going to last.
Yeah.
The house will fall apart.
Yes.
Well,
that's powerful.
Here we have it.
That's so powerful. And you know what I'm learning in this dating phase? Yeah. There's moments where like you're in your flow and it's feeling good and you're owning yourself and you're letting them know what you want and you're letting them know what you need. Yeah. But then something happens and it shifts.
Right.
That's life, right?
Yeah.
So now you still have to navigate and be honest again and say, hey, and having those uncomfortable conversations, I think is one of the key things that I'm learning in order to me to get back into that flow.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you have to keep having these uncomfortable moments, and I hate them.
But that's growth.
I know. You only grow in uncomfortability.
Growth
it's
and
the only time.
Cannot coexist.
So now when I go through these moments where I'm having this uncomfortable conversation, but I'm so proud of myself. I'm like, you just expressed everything you wanted to do. Yeah. I'm so proud because back in the day, I never had a voice in relationships. And now I'm like, okay, you're learning. So all I want to say really is regardless if you think he is the one and he might be it. And if he's not it, you're learning. I'm learning so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I'm learning lessons and I'm growing as an individual and I'm growing in love. So honor yourself and be proud of yourself. And then when it gets a little confusing and like you start overthinking, that's when you have to sit with yourself and reflect. And I think have those conversations, like you said, Justin, and be like, stick it out or tell them it's not it.
Yeah. And here's the beauty of let's say you're in a situation where you did all the work. You meet someone who you think's the one, they're not it, and now you're back, right? Guess what? It's going to be easier this time around than it was the first time because you've had now the necessary tools. You know what it's going to take to get back to you.
Yes.
You go back in the toolbox. It's the same tools in there.
You got even more tools
it's
now.
It's easier now than it would have been back then. Yes. So if you could do it back then, you can do it now.
Yes. So, with every ending is a new beginning.
Exactly.
If you can remind yourself, because in the beginning it hurts and it's a struggle. And like I've thought about it where I'm like, damn, I know what's meant for me won't pass me by. And I truly believe that.
Say it again.
Like what's meant for you will not pass you by.
Yeah.
So if I have to leave this one, guess what? God is telling you it's not it.
Right.
Yeah. So get back to self.
Yep.
And when you're ready, what's for you won't pass you by. I truly believe that in my heart.
That's great. And don't ignore the signs.
No, you can't.
Don't get lost. Don't in the I don't want to be single again. I don't want to go on these dating apps. Like, don't lose sight of the reality of the situation.
Yes.
Stop fantasizing about this potential.
Yes.
Stop living in this potential world. Be realistic with yourself.
Yes.
With your situation that you're in. And make the necessary decisions.
Yes, and be compassionate to yourself.
Yeah.
Like, give yourself compassion because, like, we all want love. We all want the one. We're all searching for that. But also understand, like, how far you've come.
Yeah.
Think about all the past.
Right.
And how far you've come.
Yeah.
And if you got to keep going, keep going.
Yeah.
And if you found the one, I'm so damn happy for
Yeah,
you.
right.
I'm so proud of you.
That's
I'm thankful. Like, keep growing and evolving and being an example for all of us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm proud.
Yeah. I think that's the perfect way to end an incredible episode. I may have to do more with no script.
Yes.
Dude,
you killed it.
Little anxiety for me to like not have like a blueprint, like a guideline.
Yeah, but it went awesome.
It showed me a lot. Yeah. I mean, this was great. This is going to help out so many people. It's going to bring hopefully clarity.
Yes.
More understanding, and hopefully give some people who, you know, that whole saying, like, maybe you were meant to hear this today. Maybe you were meant to watch this today. Yes. And maybe this is that wake up call, you know, so to speak. So, so I appreciate you for coming on again.
Always.
This is
Thank
amazing.
You for having me.
We're 2 for 2.
Yes.
It's an honor and a pleasure. Guys, I know this helped you out tremendously, whether you're listening or you're watching. And if you're in a good situation and this doesn't relate to you, no problem. But if you know someone that you feel for and you're empathetic towards them and you just really feel like, man, this person could really use this information, please share it. Please let them know, because they're not alone. So until next time, again, I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
And I'm excited for the next one.
I love you guys. I love your squad.